Welcome to Soap, a story of the Tates and the Campbells, whose normal life is anything but normal, with co-hosts Tom Diamond, Vicky Ray, Jesse Fultz, and Keith Chowgo. Soap operas come and go, but there has never been a soap opera like Soap.
And welcome back to the Literary License Podcast. And today we are still doing our retrospective of Soap, Season 1, Episodes 17 to 25. And today it's just little old me and Keith Chago. Hello, Keith.
Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing?
And before we get started, we'd like to see what all two of us have been up to since the last time we spoke. Starting with Keith, what you been up to?
I haven't been up to a lot. I've been playing a lot of computer games. Well, one computer game. I'm playing Zombie Army 4, which is basically killing Nazi zombies, which is nothing more fun than killing zombies and killing Nazis. So yeah,
Nazi zombies are disturbing looking. If you watch any of the Shudder movies or any of that stuff with the Nazi zombies, for some reason, they are some of the most disturbing looking zombies ever. Maybe just because they're Nazis and zombies, but the makeup and the special effects with them are just freaking upsetting. I know the Nazi soldiers did a horrible thing, but they were dressed very well. So you have well-dressed zombies. So it's even better. They were. The SS was pretty sharp, was it not?
Yeah, who would have thought they'd be so fashionable? Fashionable doing such heinous things. So.
I could see all the hate mail pouring in.
And outside of that, I finished Them, which I really enjoyed. Really good series that's on Amazon Prime in this country, but I think it's HBO or Showtime in your country.
It's on HBO Max. I still haven't finished it because I had all this other stuff going on for the last 2 weeks. But I watched the first 2 episodes where I'm in with the colored family in the 50s. I still got to finish it. I liked it. I just haven't had a chance to revisit it after the last week or so.
It was excellent. I'm not going to give anything away, but the acting is probably so superb and so wonderful. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And yeah, I was totally glued to it. It was just but it is one of those series that you kind of have to watch 1 or 2, take a break. You can't just binge watch the whole thing because it's just too tense and your heart and body's just shaking and stuff like that. And outside of that, I've just been watching bits and pieces. I watched the Oscars and what a bunch of bollocks that was. And,
you're one of the 8.5 million people worldwide that watched the Oscars.
Well, I didn't watch it live. They did it on my recap show that was only like an hour in this country. I mean, they didn't show it live, but I was going to watch it live. I'll watch the recap so you get like the best bits.
It's far too preachy for me.
It was like a greatest hits album of one single band. You know what I mean? They had the bands that have like only one single that's any good and the rest of their stuff's so shit. It was a bit like that. But it did make me very keen to see No Man's Land. Now it's on Disney Plus with Frances McDormand. And I mean, she's always fantastic as well. And so I will be watching No Man's Land. So
is that a series or is that just a movie?
It's a movie that won Oscar for the best movie, and it won best actress, and it won best screenplay, and it won a bunch of Oscars. And it's basically about this woman. To be honest, when I first heard about it, I thought it was a documentary. I thought Frances McDormand took time off and made a documentary about caravan people. But no, it's a movie with her playing a caravan person when she loses everything and joins this and becomes part of this caravan nation where basically they travel from town to town because they have no homes due to the American dream dying on them. So I'm really keen to seeing that. So I'll probably watch that this weekend. It's bank holiday weekend here in the UK, so I'm looking forward to that. And taking some time off. I'll do a little bit more work tonight, and then after that, I have 3 days off. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. But besides that, that's it for me, really. What about yourself?
Not a whole lot. We're going to take a little hiatus from BMX for a while. Not for a while, but we got Asher's motorcycle in the garage because he wants to do a little MXing for a change. And my getting a new roof because the insurance finally took pity on me after that last blast of whatever happened to Texas in February. Armageddon, Snowmageddon, Cova-mageddon, Snowmageddon. You know, we had it all. I mean, if anything's going to shit on Texas, it would do that to us. But I'm kind of looking forward to not worrying about my roof being ripped off except by an F5. And that'll probably be next because I don't have that kind of luck. But just pretty much chilling and trying to get some painting done. We're really just trying to fix up the house lately. And I started watching part 2 of In Search of Darkness. I was really happy to see that come on Shudder. I was thinking of, I texted you and Joe, actually. I thought about it a lot. I thought about you too, because I'm halfway through it and it's just so good. I can't sing its praises enough. Anybody that's a fan of, 80s horror, because that was like the slasherama decade, for all of this stuff that you possibly will never get away with ever again. And it's just got all the greatest minds, directors, actors, actresses, you name it, are on here. And all the commentators and just Joe Bob and, just everybody. It's just an excellent series. It's 4.5 hours, the first one, and this one's another 4.5 hours, but it's pure gold.
I love the first one. I'm definitely going to watch the second one.
Oh God, it's excellent. It's just, and I was going
to, especially since it ties into our season 5.
It really ties into our season 5, and they've got like what's that? Is that Leanna Quigley on her? That she's got her own segment about all this stuff and how she did what parts she did. And Joe was just going through my head the whole time. Because she is always in the shower when she gets killed. It's kind of funny actually. And but it really does go hand in hand with what we're trying to do. And then I just happened to come across Joe Bob is on his new season, and he had the audition on. I've never seen the audition, but it's subtitled. But like I said, do not be shied away from subtitles, especially if it's like an Asian film, because no matter what, what's going on. And the end was probably one of the most brutal movies I've seen.
Yeah, it is.
Like ever. The things you can do with piano wire, that's all I'm going to say. Jeez. Oh my God. And then I revisited The Class of 1984. I hadn't seen that in a long time. That was his.
That's an excellent film. I love that film.
Yeah, it's a really good film. I totally forgot all about it. It's just been so long since I've seen it. And then I ended up watching both Hatchets, the Victor Crowley saga. Those are just excellent. I love Victor Crowley movies. I wish they'd make another one.
There's 3 of them.
Is there 3? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the last one in the trilogy is called Aleister Crowley, or Victor Crowley.
Victor Crowley. Man, I don't know. I probably have seen it, and I've watched.
It ties it all up.
Scott thinks I'm just a totally morbid, decrepit human being, because every time he comes into the back room, I've always got some kind of slice and dice movie on, and I get really frustrated because I've seen so many of them. I can't find anything new. So when I started watching Search of Darkness, I saw a whole bunch of little gems I haven't seen, or I need to go back and see, and they're making a big deal out of the second Freddy Krueger movie because of all the innuendo in that one, because the final girl is a final guy.
Yeah,
and it had a whole bunch of interesting retrospective on that. Huh?
Doesn't Freddy come out of his body?
Yes, yeah. Freddy kind of comes out of his chest and everything. It was really good. But you know what? Back in the day, my head wasn't thinking like that.
I have to say, in the back of the day, I was gay and out at that time when it came out, and I just remember it's just like, I didn't take it about like him fighting off. I know that film historians and people now look at Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Return, Freddy's Return, and they kind of now turned into about a man fighting his homosexuality, and they had the girl, and so she's the heterosexual side, and then Freddy the gay side, and I know that they come up with this whole jargon about the movie, but it was
on purpose, though.
Well, it didn't run through my head at the time. All I remember is like he goes to see his gym teacher at the leather bar, and they're going to the shower, and then it's like because his gym teacher's going to have sex with him, and it's like, and then he gets, of course, and then he gets tied up by the towels and gets whipped by the wet towels.
Yeah, I remember that really well.
This is, and I thought to myself, well, this is really gay. So, but I mean, I didn't take about.
I thought it was odd when I was a teenager, but back then we didn't have social media and everything. We really weren't exposed to it, and if you thought you were gay or you had tendencies, not a lot of people talked about it, even though it didn't bother a lot of us back then. We were just that generation of weirdness,
Well, I mean, another thing is it's quite odd that it came out when it did, because it was in the middle of the AIDS crisis as well.
I know, of all times. But they said I was watching, Robert Englund said that, they were experimenting with it. They were trying to go there without going there. So that was totally there, but they weren't trying to, it wasn't like rammed down your throat, really. But I mean, they were, but first the gay community said they were kind of concerned about it, because they're afraid of it what's the word I want to use? How you stigmatize somebody.
Yeah, stigmatize.
But then they actually come out and loved it, because a lot of people like, representation in a horror movie. And so they all thought it was really cool once they found out that they were the final guy, kind of thing. So it was just a cool retrospective of that in Search of Darkness Part 2. I liked it a lot. It was really
There's also a movie, a documentary about Mark Patton, who's a star of that, called Confessions of a Scream Queen.
Yes, I saw that.
Because he's the first Scream Queen. And he said it, but the funny thing about, it's interesting because, he does sit there and say that movie stigmatized him because it made him do nothing but gay roles. But, let's be honest. The thing is, the first thing, well, I don't know if it did, because the first film that I ever saw him in, he played a gay guy in a film of Robert Altman's called The Comeback to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, with Sandy Dennis, Karen Black, Cher, Kathy Bates, and he played a gay guy there. And I saw another movie that was before Freddie and before this one, where he played another gay guy. So it's kind of like, did this movie stigmatize you? No, this is probably the best known movie that you did, but it's like everything I've ever seen him in, he always plays someone even before this Freddie thing. So it's kind of like, well, and to be honest, it's like, the way he danced wasn't the most butch way to dance in a movie. I'll just leave it there.
Well, I mean, that was the age of the video coming out, and you had Debbie Gibson and all that stuff was coming out, and people were dancing. I mean, MTV,
But he was dancing with a hairbrush pointed against his ass and grinding against it. So yeah.
Oh, you would notice that. You could get away with that. I would get killed if I said that.
Well, the funny thing about it is that when he's been interviewed about that dance segment, they told him that he could do whatever he wanted, and this is what he comes up with. So, no
accounting for taste. Go figure.
But he's an icon figure now, so go figure. So
well, he did have that documentary out, and he like a lot of people. He's got a huge cult following still.
Precisely.
A lot of people still love him. He does go and try to make the circuit at the Comic Cons and the horror cons. And stuff.
Well, all those Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, so on and so forth. All those great big legacy films. All those actors in there are they have huge cult followings. Adrienne King, Betsy Palmer, to the day she died, she had a big cult following. We interviewed Dinah Manoff, which will also be out later on this weekend, that interview as well. And, what did she tell us? She told us that, out of everything she's done through all the history, long after she's dead, she'll be known as the first victim of Chucky.
I know, go figure, because people didn't think that stuff was going to sell. It's just huge still, huge. People are wanting to get these real epic, sentimental, whatever roles, and they end up getting thrown out the window by an animated demonic doll, and they have found fame no matter what. So it is what it is.
Precisely.
It was the best it was the best decade for movies or horror.
Oh, precisely. It was a lot of different stuff, and they were trying anything. They would try anything and film it. And
you can't get away with any of that anymore. That's why I'm so afraid. I hope the wokeness doesn't take our movies away from us. I really, really hope not. So
No, I find that television is the new cinema, really.
Yeah. I don't watch television much. I watch a lot of stuff. I watch maybe 2 channels, and that's it.
I watch mainly Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus. And I was going to say that the best stuff that I'm watching are TV shows made for Netflix series.
So, yeah, I agree. But okay. I guess we're going to cut into the synopsis, and we have our very own soap announcer, and Keith is going to do the synopsis of episodes 17 to 25.
And this is what's been happening on this episode of Soap. Jessica goes to bail, causing Ingrid to gloat. Burt is behaving obsessively about Peter's murder, causing the Campbells much worry. The Campbells are informed by Ingrid about Jessica's arrest. Danny is let off the hook by Mr. Lafowitz on the condition that Mary agrees to do him an undisclosed favor. Eunice is disturbed to learn someone is blackmailing Congressman McCollum about his affair with her. Benson poses as Jessica's lawyer to bring her breakfast. Chester hires a lawyer to defend Jessica. Jessica admits that the gun that killed Peter does belong to her, and the lawyer refuses to take the case. Father Tim tells Corrine that he is going on a religious retreat so he can forget about her. Burt is confronted by Mary about his emotional problems. Burt tells Mary that he can make himself invisible. Chester hires E. Ronald Malou to represent Jessica. Jessica tries to leave the country while out on bail, but Benson talks her out of it. Mary convinces her that she is loved and needed. Chester fires Claire, so Claire turns him into the SEC. The Tates and the Campbells are interviewed by E. Ronald Malou, who is looking in vain for acceptable character witnesses. Mary is advised by a psychiatrist to have Burt hospitalized for observation. Corrine is visited by Jessica, who makes a heartfelt plea for her to return home, but Ingrid seeks to poison her mind against Jessica. Eunice is shocked as Congressman McCollum receives compromising pictures from the blackmailer. She climbs out on the ledge to avoid being caught by Marilyn, who is in a difficult position as a courier comes to pick up McCollum's speech and walks off with the pictures instead. Eunice climbs off the ledge and into a stranger's hotel room. Congressman McCollum promises her a new life, but backs out when the courier returns the pictures. Jodie confronts Chuck about the nasty notes he's been getting from Bob. Danny tries to break off with Elaine. Mr. Lafowitz tells him that he has to marry Elaine, but learns that Mary intends to have him committed. Jessica begins her pre-trial hearings in the murder case and is shocked to learn the prosecutor in Peter's murder case turns out to be the twin brother of the lawyer who have refused to defend Jessica. It is also revealed that the judge once lost $40,000 because of bad advice he got from Chester. Danny brings Elaine home to meet the dysfunctional Campbell family in an attempt to get her uninterested in him. Corrine breaks into Father Tim's retreat cabin. Jessica locks herself in the bathroom to avoid going to trial. Jodie meets Carol David, E. Ronald Malou's assistant, and is immediately propositioned by her. Jessica is nervous as her trial begins. Jodie is convinced by Carol to go away for the weekend despite his insistence that they can only be friends. Burt checks into a mental hospital. Danny explains to Mary why he has to marry Elaine. Billy runs away from home because he's failed math and doesn't want to add to the family's problems. Jessica goes through with her defense at the trial. Benson, Chester, and Jessica herself testify. The prosecutor boasts that his surprise witness will make the jury want to lynch her. Eunice is dumped by Congressman McCollum after Marilyn threatens to ruin his political career. Burt confesses to Mary that he killed her first husband. Ingrid has a sexual encounter with the judge in Jessica's trial. Corrine walks out after learning of Ingrid's vendetta against the Tates. Father Tim tells his mother that he may leave the priesthood because of Corrine, but she doesn't take it very well. Jessica is asked by Malou if she knows who the surprise witness might be. The surprise witness turns out to be Mrs. Fane, who testified that she heard Jessica threaten to kill Peter. Jodie finds himself in bed with Carol. Mary can't decide how she feels about Burt when he comes home from the hospital. Jodie tells Carol that he won't have sex with her again. Jessica is the only person in the Tate household who gets any sleep after Mrs. Fane's testimony in court. Corrine realizes that Jessica is her true mother. Ingrid comes to reconcile with her, but she refuses to go with Ingrid. Chester is arrested by Chief Tinkler for stock fraud, and Jessica has her murder case go to trial. And that is what's been happening on Soap.
And welcome back to where we discuss the good, the bad, and the downright comedy and drama of soap. So, Keith, episode 17, starting out, Jessica's going to jail, causing Ingrid to gloat. So what'd you think about these first few episodes, or all of them?
Well, I actually like these episodes. The comedy is just, what I like about soap is an ensemble cast, and it's a large cast as well, and everyone gets their moment to shine.
Yeah,
and it's just amazing about that everyone has their one-liners, and and the thing is that they're giving one-liners and doing the comedy, but yet they're doing physical comedy at the same time.
Yeah,
But the funny thing about it is that they never poke fun at anyone. It's always done with love. I mean, even when Burt is pretending he's invisible and he thinks he's invisible. and the thing
he
is,
does
like,
the thing where he's snapping his fingers and and he thinks that he's gone, and everybody's like looking at him like, what the fuck?
And it's it's fantastic. The thing is like, they're like, well, we need to get him help. You know what I mean? We love him.
Seriously.
And they just put up with it, sort of thing. And it's just, and then you get, Mary and how she reacts to it. And it's just so fantastic. But I mean, getting back to Jessica, I mean, she's she's so naive, but so funny. I mean,
she does that. I don't think anybody else could have commanded her character as well as she did throughout all these seasons, because she's really brilliant at being dumb. I mean, there's just nobody else can capture it like she does quite.
I mean, especially when she gets into the prison cell and she looks around and she goes, now I know why people want to break out of here. This is disgusting.
Yeah, you get Benson dresses up as her lawyer to bring her breakfast in the briefcase. And then Chester hires that lawyer. I think what he played Johnny Fever in WKRP. His name is eclipsing me right now, but there was two of them. He said he supposedly had a brother in this. One was a prosecutor, one was a defense attorney, or something like that.
And they're twin brothers.
So yeah, she didn't understand why it just.
But we also get Gordon Jump in this episode.
Yeah.
These episodes as well. He was also in WRP as well. He was the station manager.
That's right.
The owner. So it's quite interesting to see these two characters who would later go on into another iconic TV series.
No, that one was brilliant as well. I mean, I'll never. What was it? The turkey
drop.
The turkey drop. They're live turkeys. Oh, the humanity of it all. You got Les Nessman watching all these turkeys falling to their death from a helicopter.
Yeah, because they didn't realize that
goes, I had no idea they were live turkeys.
Well, the whole thing was like they thought that they would drop these turkeys out of the plane because they thought that turkeys could fly. It's like, turkeys can't fly. Splattering down and like barricades.
Raining turkeys. All over Cincinnati in the parking lot.
That was brilliant.
Then you got Eunice. You got Eunice she's disturbed to find out that the congressman that she's having an affair with is getting blackmailed with all those pictures.
Yeah, and the thing is that she wasn't that concerned. She's more concerned about the angle and whether they'll get photos of her or not.
I know. Do I really look like that? And I think didn't they say they were doing some kind of role play or something? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, he was a gladiator, and wasn't she like some kind
slave?
Of
That's
slave?
right, yeah. A slave girl, and somebody's taking pictures of it.
And she goes, oh, I mean, and then I like the line where she sits there and says that couldn't they get like such and such photographer because he always captures me in a really good light.
I know, it was funny how when we talked to Jennifer Salt about her performance and how she thought it was, she kind of had to say she had to, soldier her way through it sometimes, but she seems so good at it. That's why I found it so hard to believe that, that she didn't feel, I guess was she comfortable in front of the camera or?
I think she was, but I think that previously to soap, she was a dramatic actress. And I think that, I think Dinah Manoff kind of mentioned as well that you're kind of thrown into this high comedy series. And with these comedy greats. I mean, everyone in this is a comedy great,
right?
And holding your own. But I do think that Jennifer Salt does hold her own, because I think
she does.
You kind of need that straight woman kind of role in the mix of this craziness sort of thing.
Well, she seems to be the only character that, well, she has common sense, but she doesn't display it for herself, but she has it for everybody else, if it makes any sense.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Oh, and then you got Father Ted and Corrine as well.
Yeah, I know. And he needs to go on a religious retreat because he's trying to get away from Corrine. But they don't really ever show how they kind of hooked up. Did they? I just can't recall.
They went to school together. That's how they know each other.
Okay, because I just could not. Because I went back to watch and I still couldn't find it.
Yeah, they were. They went to school together, and she had a crush on him or something, or it was one of those high school romances that never really took off, sort of thing. And then she came back to him. But I mean, it's quite bizarre because I guess Corrine was, when she was with Peter, she was actually chasing after Father Tim at the same time. So it's kind of bizarre. And then when Peter gets killed, and she's kind of upset, and then she's running to Father. It's kind of a bizarre situation if you think about it. It's like,
most she gets operas are bizarre.
Well, she gets upset. She gets kind of upset that Peter's sleeping around on her, but in the same way, she's kind of trying the same thing. Priest. But then again, Corrine was a bit of a slut, wasn't she?
Yeah, well, you always had like General Hospital, or you had Search for Tomorrow, but they always seemed to set her around the hospital. And you always had a hospital slot. That was just always, that was just the way it was. You had your Dr. Noah Drakes, and then you had your, Bobby's, Spencer's, and all that stuff. And I'm probably going to get killed by a bunch of General Hospital people, but that's the truth. That's the way it was 30 years ago, when Luke and Laura were doing their thing. So, But then you had Burt has emotional problems. And he thinks he can make himself invisible. And, everybody's trying to figure out what to do with Burt because he's always like hiding in the corner. But you can see him. But it just seems like everybody's kind of trying to ignore it. Or is that my...
Yeah, I think that if you got someone that you love and they're pretending that they're invisible, and you kind of, you don't want to have to deal with it all the time, do you? Just let them go off and pretend.
Can you imagine? But then these, like, especially in episode 18, you have a really, humanitarian side to this episode, because Jessica wants to leave the country and skip bail because she feels that she's like weighing her family down, or she's not, important enough. And they have Benson and Mary try to convince her that, that she's loved and she's needed. And I think it's over that roast she killed. Didn't he have a roast in the oven, and it's like a piece of charcoal, and he's upset over the roast?
Yeah.
I don't know. He forgot about it because he had to go. I think he had to go retrieve her, go find her, because she was trying to skip bail.
Yeah, but where'd she go into like the Caribbean or something? I can't remember exactly where she was.
Yeah, she was going to go away. I cannot recall where, but she was going to go somewhere warm, I believe.
But she told everybody and left notes for everyone.
I know, so they would have found her anyway. She's so good at that. I mean, she's just brilliant at that part. I cannot imagine anybody else in that part ever. Just never. And on top of that, Chester finally is going to fire Claire, who's been blackmailing him, and she turns him in. Well, they're calling it the SEC in this sitcom, but I guess it's the same thing as Internal Revenue, I want to assume.
Yeah, I guess it's the same thing as Martha Stewart.
Yeah. Isn't this the same episode where she's trying to make a scene in the restaurant, and she like takes the tablecloth and throws all the food on the floor, and she starts screaming, and he's just trying to eat his soup and drink his whatever little thing. He's got that dainty little glass. Chester's just drinking, and he don't give a shit at this point. He just selling all of his stuff so he can keep Jessica out of prison.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, stop it, you'll make it a scene. I'll tell you what's making a scene. And off she goes.
She starts screaming and carrying on. You don't really see her again much after that for a while.
No, but I liked how everyone else in the restaurant is just carrying on. Like, not even noticing her either.
Well, they kind of looked. But I mean, if somebody started screaming in your face in a restaurant, I think that people would probably take more notice than what they did. Either that or they're just, desensitized to people having scenes in that particular restaurant. But I know that I would notice. Well, I have seen scenes in restaurants, and it's just like, whoa.
Well, I also have to think that maybe it's the town they live in, because so far you have both families are a bit loopy. But then everyone else that lives in this town that we've been introduced to is a bit loopy as well. So this seems like a really loopy community.
Well, you realize how loopy it really is when what is it? E. Ronald Malou comes into the picture. Oh, yeah. He wants to represent Jessica, and he cannot find one single solitary person to represent her as a character witness because they're all batshit. One's a suicidal gay man.
Yeah, you got suicidal gay man. You got the brother-in-law who thinks he's invisible. You got the nephew who basically talks to a doll. Yeah.
The tax evading brother-in-law or husband, I should say. And then you got Corrine. Yeah. She's Sister Corrine. And you got Eunice messing around with the congressman.
And you got Danny.
Benson, and they come out and say, well, you're black.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got Danny, who's like working with the mob. So it's
right. He's working with the mob. But the funny thing about it is back then, when you're addressing these things, people always talk about this prejudice against, the sexuality and the blackness and everything else. And this made fun of everything equally, and nobody was offended. That's why I don't understand what's going on, because they did it so well, in the writing.
Well, I think that, if you want to break through borders, the best way to do it is through comedy.
Yeah.
And that's what we had in the 70s is they broke through borders through comedy and made things a lot better. Right. I think it's a bit like Twilight Zone. If you want to get a personal message through, what you do is you thread it through your episode. But I think nowadays where things are going wrong is that once you point your finger and push whatever you're trying to push onto people, and you make it so blatant that your mind just tends to shut off from it. And that's right. But here your mind does shut off because you're enjoying it, but yet you're learning at the same time. You're learning about all this different,
right,
all these different backgrounds, these different ethnicities, these different sexualities, so on and so forth. But the people that they're making fun of, the people who are doing the making fun of are the people, but you're laughing with the people that being made fun of because they're the strong ones, and the ones that are doing the poking the fun of, like, oh, he's a fruit, they're the idiots.
I haven't heard ever. That was the last time I ever heard anybody call anybody gay a fruit, was this show. I didn't even remember that term until I started watching these episodes again. But I mean, he just handles it so well. It's just like he's a fruit. It's just like, but Burt always gets upset, or how they always get upset when the word fruit comes out, Yeah. I can't remember. Is this the one where the doll's in the refrigerator, or was that prior to this?
It's in this block, so it does. It's in this block,
so, yeah. I don't know why that just jumped, because Burt, I mean, he's just the outstanding kind of, because he's going to be hospitalized for observation. I think, is this the one where they're in the bathtub together and she's trying to talk to him about that?
Yeah, and then he says you can't turn invisible because he's wet.
Yeah. Yeah, or wait, he's got the ring of power. He has to have the ring of power. She goes, do you have this ring of power?
Not yet, but I'm looking for it.
Yeah, and then you got Eunice as the congressman. He got the compromising pictures back. Wait, he was supposed to give them. He got them back from the blackmailer. She climbed out on a ledge because his wife came in.
Yeah, and then someone came in and looked for the speech, and he actually gave the blackmail photographs to the guy taking the courier. To the courier. And it seems like this guy doesn't really have any, I don't know, the typical philandering, congressman. She's out on the balcony not on the balcony, the ledge. And it doesn't even seem like there's a lot of, oh my God, she's out on the ledge. It's raining, so she has to come through the window wherever that guy was in that particular room. And, the thing is like, and then he brings it, it's storming outside as well. Storming, thunder, lightning, everything like that. The wife leaves, she comes back inside, and then it's like, and they're like looking for her. They realize it's the blackmail pictures, and then he goes, "Oh, we'll go away to Acapulco. It'll just be the two of us."
Oh yeah, it'll be just us.
And then the pictures come back. Oh, never mind that. I'm gonna be a senator. What are you talking about? Get out of here, sort of thing. And I think it's kind of interesting because the thing is like it's all about him, isn't it? It's not about her at all. And we get a lot of that.
She's just the side girl, basically, because he's never going to leave the wife. They never usually leave the wife because it's such a thing of convenience. And especially if you're in politics, you don't want to screw with that stuff, but that was back in the day. I don't know. Now they got social media, so everybody gets busted no matter what. Somebody does. And then in the same block, you got Jodie confronts Chuck and Bob about the nasty notes he's getting from Bob. I'm trying to remember some of them. Do you remember some of them?
My mind's a bit of a muddle, but I just remember Jodie's trying to go, Chuck, you have a problem here. We need to look at this.
He's trying to
Bob, and then he gets to the point where he's turning fruit, and he's turns to one.
Oh, that's when he hit Bob. That's when Bob goes in the refrigerator.
Yeah, Bob's in the refrigerator.
But
Chuck goes, I don't have a problem. Meanwhile, Chuck's talking through using fruit as Bob.
Grapefruit. Yeah, he's got the mouth of the grapefruit going.
And then when he juices the grapefruit, and then he's got Bob screaming. God, I have to sit there and say some of my favorite characters are Chuck and Bob. Stuff that comes out of Bob's mouth is just so. I know.
But as a viewer, as a viewer, it's kind of funny because you see the family, they start to address this doll. And it's like to actually exist. And as a viewer, you start seeing it as an actor in the sitcom because he's so prominent, and it's like he's always there, and he's such a wise ass. And they don't really go into exactly why Bob is there or what's going on with Chuck, where he has, Bob being.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think that if you're living with someone who basically talked through a doll the whole time and the doll's a separate personality, you probably would start addressing that doll. You probably would. I probably would. You find yourself talking to him, and afterwards you're like, why am I talking to this freaking doll? You know what I mean?
Which everybody finds himself doing, they're trying to address him, especially if it's Bob, And then Burt opens a refrigerator. He does that shaking thing with his head, and he gets all, emotional when he sees him stuck in the refrigerator.
And then Chuck carries Bob off, and the last thing Bob says goes, the light still stays on in the fridge when the door's closed.
That light stays on. And then you got Jessica's pretrial stuff is going on. And the prosecutor that's when she finds out the prosecutor happens to be the twin brother of the lawyer who didn't want to defend Jessica because he thought it was just not even worth trying because all the evidence was overwhelming. And Jessica being Jessica, just no, it's not going to happen. And on top of that, Chester, I don't know if he embezzled 40 grand from the judge, but he wasted his 40 grand on a bad investment. So they got that against them already.
And this scene is quite brilliant because you got Jessica coming in and meeting Judge. She goes, "Oh, what's underneath the robe?" And he's like,
"Yeah, oh yeah, that's right."
and then he flashes her. He flashes her. And then
she's so annoying.
And then the whole time is he's talking, is and Chester's going, "Oh, I'm so sorry about I lost money too." And he goes, "Oh, don't worry. My father was going to die sometime." That's on and on. Yeah, my wife could have used that new kidney, but it's fine. Don't worry, everything's fine. I'm over it.
I know they're so nonchalant about things like that.
Well, we also find out that Elaine and Danny, Elaine's the daughter of the boss.
Lefkowitz.
Yeah, she's a bit of a nympho, and poor Danny's being worn out.
Yeah, Danny's doesn't know what to do. He just wants to go home and sleep. And she says, "Be back at a certain time," or "No, you're not leaving," or "I'm not done with you yet." Danny's exhausted.
But then we actually, we do find out that for Danny to get in good with the mob, what his payback is he has to marry Elaine.
Yeah. And he brings her home because his family's so dysfunctional that he thinks if he brings her home to this dysfunctional family that, the Campbells will scare her off. and that she won't be interested in him anymore, but she just makes fun of them. You know, she's calling Jodie a fruit. She's calling, you know, Chuck and Bob crazy, you know, and then you got Burt, who's the invisible man. So that would scare me off from, honestly.
Yeah, but Elaine thinks, this is all made up. You guys are all in on it because she doesn't believe anything.
Yeah, she thinks that it's just like, there's just no hope because she thinks he did it on purpose to freak her out, but the family's actually like that. And then you got Corrine climbing. I don't know if she says she went to another country to find Father Tim. So I'm assuming this is Mount Everest or whatever in Nepal. It's mountain that she's climbing up to get to Father Tim in her little white, whatever that is. And then she said she has some kind of Sherpa or something, get her up the mountain. And he hasn't seen a woman in a long time.
Well, one priest thinks that she's a vision.
Yeah, that's right. They think she's an angel or something.
Yeah. Like,
and then she's going to go stay in the hotel at the bottom of the mountain. And Father Tim's going to stay in the real cold. That looked like a stone cabin. It didn't look like a cabin to me, but I guess it could have been.
Yeah. I mean, the Tim and Corrine thing is quite interesting.
The father,
not to give anything away, but it does have its payoff later on. So.
Yeah. But I don't know I don't know why. I guess they're poking fun at the, you know, ministry or Catholic tradition or whatever, because, you know, everybody, I mean, as a girl, you know, being in Catholic school, I remember the usual father, what a waste kind of guys that were just too good looking to be priests. It's like, wow. And you don't get it when it's like, wow, why? Just why?
Yeah.
I guess you had to be there, you know. I can honestly see where this has happened, you know. I mean, I'm sure.
Well, we had a miniseries in the 80s about it called The Thornbirds.
Oh, so. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I love that series, too. That's one of the, I hate how it ends because it's just sad, but new beginnings, but it's still sad how it ends because you feel so bad for Richard Chamberlain because, I mean, it took him all the way to the end and she's so mean about it. You know, she tells him that was his son that drowned, you know, and I mean, she's just so cold when she does that to him. Richard Chamberlain's like ready to like keel over it. I think he dies not too long after that of a broken heart or a bad ticker or whatever happens, but
yeah, I don't think I've ever watched it. I remember my grandmother.
Oh, I love it.
I love the Thornbirds. Into that. I was more into Lace. Which one of you bitches is my mother?
Those are those not sitcoms, but those are those movie of the week things that were series
mini series. Yeah.
Then I had the only color TV in college, and everybody would come in my room because I had the color TV, and we'd watch like North and South, and the Thornbirds, and
Scruples
and Lace, and what was it? Master of the Game. What was the other one?
Rich Man, Poor Man.
Rich Man, Poor Man.
But they were always like based on like these best-selling novels, and then
Jackie Collins or Sidney
Hollywood
Sheldon.
Lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they would, the other side of midnight. But yeah,
I love like Master of the Game with Diane Cannon. She did such a good job in that. I wish they put those on again. I really love those and they were so 80s, you know, so 80s.
Well, I think they even did a mini series of Valley of the Dolls, didn't they? With like
they did
and people like that. So
they certainly did.
But yeah, that's back when miniseries were big. Well, I mean, Soap's a bit of a miniseries, really.
Yeah, kinda. And then you got Jodie. And he meets Carol, and Carol is the paralegal to Mr. Malou or the lawyer Malou or whatever.
Yeah.
Jessica's defender. And she's got the hots for Jodie, and she just sees this as a big challenge because he's gay and she thinks that she can fix him kind of thing.
Well, I mean, the worst thing about it, they go away for the weekend and she tells him it's going to be a two-bedroom place. There's one bedroom, so they have to share a bed. So he's trying to sleep. Meanwhile, she's like trying to attack him in his sleep to the point where it's just like, doesn't he just give up and say, okay, fine, I'll sleep with you?
No, she starts crying and makes him feel guilty. And so he hugs her, and then one thing leads to another. And then Jodie just, he goes once in a while. What did he say? He says, once in a while, I'd like something else, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop liking waffles or something like that.
Yeah.
I might try this, but I'm still going to like waffles.
It's a bit like, I went to a bar mitzvah once. Doesn't make me Jewish.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that, isn't it? So,
yeah. And Burt's in the mental hospital finally. But I thought it was kind of funny. His psychiatrist, just to make sure, he goes in there and goes, Mr. Campbell, to make sure that he wasn't invisible and wasn't in his office before he checks him in.
I mean, and I think this is quite lovingly done, actually, sort of thing, because we actually do get to, Burt does it because he loves Barry and he's figures that, okay, I need to get fixed, and which is nice, So, and it's good to have that kind of thing. That's what's quite nice about, Burt's crazy as hell, but Mary loves him.
Danny explains to his mother, to Mary, why he has to marry Elaine finally, because she's such a crass human being, I think I know this is the block where he brings her home and she's just rude, crude, and socially unacceptable to the whole family.
Well, she's just a spoiled little brat, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. She is. And then you got Billy, who ran away from home because he fails his math. And because everything is already in turmoil and utter chaos, he doesn't want to add any more burden to the family problems, which is kind of, they do sneak the humane stuff in there, where it makes both families look, they're real people. So you got the comedy on one side, but you also have the humanity on the other side, where it shows these, how they're all warm, loving individuals, irregardless of how much dysfunction they have, personally or as a group, at this point.
Well, we do get Jessica basically starting in court as well, where she decides it's best to push the tables together to make it more of a community.
Because everybody's at odds, and it just seems so, no one's going to get along if they're not together. And you got the defense attorney over here, you got the prosecution. Yeah, it doesn't work.
I love Jessica during the whole court sequences, though. It's so
I know.
brilliant.
She's always flitting around like a butterfly to the jury and stuff, and they can't get her to sit down. They always you always see Malou having to grab her and make her sit down because she's just flitting everywhere. It's the only word you got for it.
It's like, is she always like that? Yeah, she's just Jessica.
Just Jessica, yeah.
She's so brilliant. I mean, it looks like then we get Eunice, who's dumped by Congressman McCallum, and this is quite interesting because Marilyn, his wife, knows everything. Knows every single hotel they've been to and everything, and she stays with him because it's power, isn't it? She doesn't care what he does because at the end of the day, she's going to the Senate with him.
Right. And the thing is that she knows that her husband is going to not divorce her and leave with Eunice. And I think that Eunice really wasn't quite seeing this happening or actually come, because he's sweet talking her all the time in her situation, which is kind of cold, but it's politicians we're talking about here. So is what it is.
Well, I have to sit there and say we do get Ingrid sleeping with the judge.
I know. I didn't see that one coming. I totally forgot about that because I haven't seen a lot of these in how many decades now. So you forget about that. But the one thing about Ingrid is the way she does that accent, and it's always ha. She's always got that ha at the end of every sentence.
And she always has to have the last word as well.
Nasty human being. She's just an awful person. And she's still awful, but they soften her up in Benson when they had that spinoff. But they're still kind of at odds in that one. Her and Benson. And then Burt finally has to confess that he killed Mary's husband, and that gets kind of all wound up.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, Danny knew though, didn't he? So Danny knew.
Yeah,
I'm not sure,
and he forgave Burt.
But did Jodie know?
I don't think Jodie knew. I think it was just only between Danny and Burt. There was really no reason to tell anybody else.
Mm-hmm. And this is where we actually get Corrine basically walking out on Ingrid and going back to the Tate family. And then you get that really lovely scene between Corrine and Jessica, which I thought was a really lovely scene. about that. It doesn't matter who gives birth to you, it's who loves you and who's there for you. And
well, there's a lot of truth to that too, because I know people that, have children, and the step parents or the other part of the Insta family seems to have a whole lot more to do with them or take care of them and love them and nurture them far more than the biological side. So that was great actually, because it's true. She took care of her and made her wings for her costumes and, was there for all of her heartbreaks and her braces. And, she did everything that a normal mother would do, but she just wasn't the biological mom. So that one scene, it was really sweet. But I think that at that point, though, that Ingrid said, no, don't listen to her because she's trying to get you to testify for her, and then Corrine has a change heart, but she eventually comes to her senses and goes home.
Yeah, well, I think she sees Ingrid for what she is, basically.
Yeah, she could tell she's always like cringing. There's always cringe going on, when she's trying to, like hug on her or love on her. And you always wonder, it's like, why does she really want Corrine, or is it she just really want to get back at the Tates?
Yeah, because but then again, she's kind of married into the Tate family anyway, because she is Mary and Jessica's sister-in-law, really, because she's married to the brother, isn't she?
Dr. Bombay.
Yeah.
That's all I think of when I see that guy. It's Dr. Bombay, nobody else.
Dr. Bombay.
Wait, he played in that. What was that movie? Oh, The Mummy. He was the pilot in The Mummy. He was pretty good in that too. But I didn't see the sexual encounter coming with Ingrid and that judge. And I can't remember the name of that judge, but he always played those grumpy kind of, judicial parts back in the day.
Well, this was quite nice because he always play, he always had those kind of roles, no matter, he was like in old movies and Bewitched.
Yeah.
He pops up in Bewitched and various other things, especially through our childhood, he pop up. But I think this is the first time we actually get to see a slight sense of humor with him as well, though, like a twitch in the eye. And that was quite nice seeing that. So, but yeah, that was quite good. So
then you have the surprise witness, and that was was it Fine? That's who I thought killed Peter, actually, in the beginning.
Well, the funny thing about it is it's like, she goes, why are you here? And she goes, I'm here because you broke in when I was having dinner with my husband, telling me I was having an affair with Peter and that I had to testify.
Oh, that's right.
and then he goes, what's your address? She gives her address and she goes, and call first before you come. So that was quite funny. It's like the reason why she's there is because she's kind of been blackmailed to go there anyway. She goes, my husband left me. He left with like his teenage girlfriend.
Yeah,
making divorce from me. Her husband's having an affair as well. So
she was having an affair though, but nobody knew about it. They kind of like blew her cover and destroyed her life, kind of.
But at the same time, her husband's having an affair as well because he's run off with his teenage bride.
That's right. Yeah. So there's nobody being honest in any of this part of this episode. But that's what's really funny about it, because what are soap operas? It's total immoral, intrigue is all it is. This one's having an affair with this one. You got a baby switch over here. I'm watching General Hospital. I don't know how many baby switches I got to deal with anymore. All of them. Baby switches. Like, stop with the baby storylines.
Yeah. And of course, Jodie finds herself in bed with Carol again.
Well, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But that kind of, not now, but things kind of work out.
Yeah, but he does tell Carol that he won't be sleeping with her ever again, but they'll remain friends.
Yeah. Isn't this? Yeah, it was the next episode that the big hunky quarterback comes back.
The quarterback comes back. Yeah.
Yeah. Mary's trying to figure out how she feels about Burt, because he finally tells her after the whole season that he killed her husband, even though he was in the mob, and Danny even takes up for him because, well, if I forgave him, maybe you can forgive him.
Yeah. And that was quite touching because, and then you got that little heart to heart between the two of them, and
yeah,
she says, we'll work through this. We have love for each other. We'll work through this.
Right. The family can overcome it. This is when Corrine realizes that Jessica's her real mother, in actuality, not, and she wants to reconcile with her mom and support her. And, and then Ingrid, that's when Ingrid starts doing her ha and all of her curses and everything else through the door. I couldn't even try in a month of Sundays to do what she does. I mean, she's another one. She's just hysterical. I mean, she just is. That sweet. I guess she's Swedish, right? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, she's supposed to be Swedish, yeah. But
everybody gets it wrong. It's Finnish or German or something like that. She's getting all bent out of shape about it. And then Chester's finally arrested by Chief Tinkler. I don't even know where they come up with these names because of all that stock fraud.
Yeah, and then Jessica's case goes to the jury, where we have to sit there and wait for what the jury's going to come back with.
Yep, and nobody can sleep that night. Everybody's getting up, and then she's trying to make those waffles, and Benson's like, what the hell are you doing? And she's ignoring, what she's doing. She's dumping all this salt into the waffle mix, and it's going to be bad if she actually cooks them. And then Danny's still getting all worked up because he's going to, Lefkowitz is going to kill his whole family if he runs away and doesn't want to marry Elaine.
Yeah, I mean,
cute in these episodes, though. I mean, she really was cute as a button. I don't know why I didn't say. I think I probably told her when we were interviewing her, Dinah Manoff, because she just got that look about her. She's very endearing, even now. She's just got, even though she's playing this certain part, there's something endearing about her, even though she's annoying and she's spoiled, and you just gotta love her.
Yeah. I mean, we also get that Mary does forgive Burt and tells her that she was glad that that Burt lived and her first husband died. She glad it went that way instead of the other way around, which is quite nice.
And then we got Tim coming around, Father Tim. He's going to leave the priesthood, but I kind of thought there was some hesitating because he says he wants to get married first before they, consummate their relationship. And I don't think Corrine's all over that. And she seemed kind of hesitant on the marriage part. It's like, why we got to wait,
But we also meet Tim's mom, and then we realize that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Played by the fantastic Doris Roberts. She was always brilliant anyway. But we find out that basically that the reason why he's the priest, because it was her dream. It's not his dream, it was her dream. It's to
you know what that all reminded me of? Remember Saturday Night Fever? Where he had,
the father.
His brother was the father. Then the mother just thought that she got all of her jewels and her crown in heaven because her son was a priest and he does not want to be a priest. And I think that probably really happens, especially, I hate to say this, I hope my mother's not listening, in the Italian families, maybe even in the Irish families, because, the Roman Catholic Church or whatever is so important. At least back then it was, it was a big deal probably to have a priest in the family, I do know people that were pretty proud of it. They stuck with it though.
I mean, this final episode, it is a bunch of cliffhangers, isn't it? So
it is. This is the end of the season.
Yeah.
Jodie's convinced that Carol wants them to live together as friends, friends with benefits, maybe, or just friends.
Just friends, roommates.
She's quite obvious to the viewer of what she's really doing. And Jodie just seems really naive, kind of, sort of, because maybe feminine wiles isn't his forte.
Yeah, but then of course the quarterback Dennis comes back into the picture.
And I know things didn't work out with his wife because he had to get married because he ultimately left Jodie because he wanted to look normal, I guess, because he's a big old hairy quarterback. Back then.
Jodie was going to get a sex change because of him,
I know. Like, can you imagine?
And now it's like we're left with does Jodie and Carol move in together and become flatmates, or does Jodie go back to Dennis? We don't know.
Yeah.
So we're left with that to ponder about that.
Yeah. So
and then and then Jessica's lawyer's in love with her.
Yeah. Who'd have thought? I didn't see that one coming either. I totally forgot about that.
No. And to hide it, they decided to do the hustle and do some disco dancing.
That's right.
And then Chester joins in.
I love you. And they were doing the Latin hustle when it came in. And then she's found guilty by the jury, and Peter is supposedly been murdered, not by Jessica, actually, but by either Chester, Jodie, Corrine, Benson, or Burt. And I often wondered if Dallas, remember Who Shot JR in the 80s? Is this where they got that from? Because that was such a big deal. Can you remember, like, who shot? I always knew Kristen did it, but there's a lot of us.
Yeah, I mean, this is like before Dallas as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is 70s. So, and the thing is that now we have to wait a whole summer before we find. But I mean, luckily for us, I mean, I think we're back. I think we got one more episode in this season, don't we? I think we're back in August, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we got one more.
Yeah, I think we're back in August, so we'll find out at that time. But so our viewers, if they're not keeping up, we'll have to wait until we find out when we discuss our next episode.
Yeah, we got a little ways to go, and it's always fun watching these, though. I mean, if you could get a chance to buy the box set or view it somewhere else, I can't. Especially if you're our age and you can appreciate them more, because my brothers, I would sit there. I didn't watch it near as much as my brothers did, but my brothers would sit there and watch this and just laugh. They're a little older than me, of course, but just laugh. And they loved it. I mean, it was a big deal.
I mean, I'm watching it now, and I was there say, outside of the picture quality, I wish the picture quality was a bit better on these, because it looks like it's all done with videotape.
I actually, the box set I got is pretty decent quality. I'm really quite surprised. And, and it's fairly easy, to pop it in my computer and watch it. I'm lucky I got one of the old dinosaur computer laptops that still have the CD thing in it. Time to get a new one now. I'm ready for a new one. But I mean, the first season of this, it's just setting up the groundwork and everything. And you can see where all the controversy comes from back then, because they did want to get rid of this series. They didn't even want it to, you had the religious people and, people were freaked out about the homosexuality and they thought it was lies and misinformation, that the show was going to be saturated with sex. I mean, all in the first season, and religious groups used to go crazy and campaign to get it off the air. So I think in the end, ABC dropped the fee for sponsoring the show from $75,000 to a spot for just $40,000. But because of all the fuss it generated, how that fuss generates publicity. And if people know there's, a big fuss about something, they're going to watch it. And so, it kind of became, TV land gold, basically. And, we just, you have your first season of it, and it's a great show. I can't.
And it was, and to be honest, it was a big, it was a big, what's the word when people loved it. It was it did very, very well. And the ratings is a big ratings winner. So, and it was kind of, I wouldn't say it was educational. I would say that, it was, but it was in a nice way, sort of like Blazing Saddles poked fun of everything. This is kind of like that in a lot of ways. It pokes fun at stuff, but in the same way, it's informing. These people are human. Everybody has some kind of dysfunction in their life, because nobody is a picture perfect human. It's just not possible. I don't care who you are. So, and every family is different. Every family has all kinds of crap going on. Maybe not as much as the Campbells and the Tates, but I think we can all relate to some of it. So I think that's what makes the first season, pretty epic. Yeah, and I really like these.
Yeah. And now that we've come to Brought to You By, what's your final thoughts on this block of episodes, Keith?
My favorite, I think they're really good. I think it's strong. I think it has a really strong final episode to make you want to tune into season 2 and wait for season 2. And, and I think I've said it in previous episodes that we've done that we covered, is that I love the high comedy. I love the one-liners, and I love the heart and emotion. It's like you're laughing, you're crying, your heart breaks for these people, and then you're laughing a minute later. And the show takes you on such highs and lows. It's amazing,
it does.
And it's probably one of the best fast witty shows. And when you got a large cast of characters and be able to jumble all these characters together and be able, and to be able to mix it all. I mean, it's actually quite a fantastic show. I mean,
The chemistry and the people and the writing are just fantastic.
Yeah, and
you're not going to get stuff like this anymore. Susan Harris, brilliant writer,
and so ahead of her time. I mean, this thing is so ahead of its time at the time, and it's considered one of the best comedy series ever to put on television. This is up to Mary Tyler Moore and All in the Family, and and it's
anything that came from Susan Harris was pretty damn good. I mean,
Golden Girls,
Empty Nest, and even Dinah Manoff, she explains to us, that Susan Harris just had it going on. Everybody said that. Jennifer Salt, the writing was just fantastic. I don't know if these people just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Or if it was just that they came at the right time, or is it the right time in history, for these kind of things to come out? Because we're coming out of the 70s into the 80s and all this cultural stuff and differences. And, you have AIDS going on. You have, women's lib going on. You have politics going on,
But I also think there's this show has something that other sitcoms don't have, and that's like very fast, witty scripts. Very fast. I mean, it's very fast. The thing is, they're giving you something even before you stop laughing. They're giving you something else, and next thing you know, it's like and you're laughing, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh my god, I feel like I'm gonna cry. This is so sad, and then laughing again. It's like, and it's so fast. It's like you're watching like a 20-minute episode that goes by in like 5 minutes. It's like before you know it, you're onto the next episode. And even if whether you watch Friends or any other shows, and even All in the Family and Mary Tyler Moore, I mean, nothing moved this fast. I think this is the fastest moving show I've ever seen.
I would have never thought of that actually until you mentioned it, but it just clips right along. And you think that you've been there for a while, which is so brilliant about it. Because they put this whole story together in 23 minutes, 24 minutes with commercials after.
And multiple stories going at the same time.
Multiple storylines.
And so fast. And it's just like, I mean, it's hard to believe that, we've gone through the whole murder investigation and everything right up through the jury.
And the trial and the verdict,
And the verdict and everything like that. And all the stories in between, it just moves so fast. It's like, and I think also for a show at this time, you do get the recap at the beginning, and then you kind of get the closing at the end of each episode. But God forbid, I mean, if you just lost one episode, you could lose a lot.
I know, you almost have to. I noticed when I was watching all these, I had missed episode 19 for some reason. When you go in and you're watching your CD and you have to click 17, 18, 19, do that. I go, there's something missing here, because I was lost there for a while. Then I go, oh, wow, how did I miss 19? So I had to go all the way back last night and watch 19. And then I just couldn't, kind of cruise through them as a review. And I was like, what? You're right. Because if you miss one, it's kind of like Dark Shadows. You're going to miss a lot because they pack a lot in 20 minutes for back in the day for these stories, and you will miss something. And it's like, well, they do have the, wrap ups at the end and stuff, but you want to see it. You don't want to miss an episode because it's going to be funny as hell.
Yeah. I mean, I'd sit there and say, I sometimes wish Dark Shadows had this kind of pacing sometimes.
I know sometimes I'm still in that one.
There have been like, when you got, when we reviewed 25 episodes, it's like, God, I kind of wish it's like we could have actually got all this done in like 2 episodes. if this is put in soap, this whole storyline would have gone by now.
Where was Susan Harris back in 1968?
Precisely. She should run for Dark Shadows.
Yeah, let's get through that Adam storyline, man. This is the end of the Literary License Podcast retrospective of Soap Season 1, episodes 17 to 25. Tune in next time where we'll be discussing our classic novel for the month of May, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and the movie The Picture of Dorian Gray, filmed in 1945, directed by Albert Lewin. Is that how you say it? Lewin? So it's good night from myself, and good night from Keith. Say good night, Keith.
Good Good night, y'all. See you next time.
Good night, y'all. And we will see you all next week for our classic book to screen, Dorian Gray, and the movie Picture of Dorian Gray by Albert
Bye.
So bye, y'all. Have a great week.
Family, family, family. I go to war with my family. Ups and downs, wrong or right, this family. They think that we crazy. They say that we crazy, can't handle it. My back on the wall, who I'ma call my family? We different, we stick out, wig out, bug out, pop out, hop out, ball out, show out. Aight, just a party, let's not make a problem. No, why you looking at me like it's something? You should know it's not just me that you be rubbing.
Wrong way, so you better think twice. You shouldn't mess with me. You don't wanna mess with me. Cause if you mess with me, you're messing with my family. You shouldn't mess with me. You don't wanna mess with me. Cause if you mess with me, you're messing with my family. You might think that we are all loco.
My family.
But this family bout to go global. We blown up.
En mi familia ese problema no jugamos. Y si hay party esta mañana celebramos. Si te dicen que estamos locos, locos estamos. Y en las buenas y en las malas nos quedamos. No traicionamos.
Aight, just a party, let's not make a problem. Why you looking at me like it's something? You should know it's not just me that you be rubbing. Wrong way, so you better think twice. You shouldn't mess with me. You don't wanna mess with me. Cause if you mess with me, you're messing with my family. You shouldn't mess with me. You don't wanna mess with me. Cause if you mess with me, you're messing with my family. Messing with my family. La familia.
Don't mess with my family.
You might think that we are all loco. But this family back to the global.
They say that we mean. They say that we rude. They say we got problems, but we say it's cool. Family, family. I go to war with my family. Ups and downs, wrong or right, this family.
You might think that we are